Hey, it's Steve with Raybuck. I'm working on the 53 Chevy Pickup. I'm working on the stereo today. So when we first built the truck, we put a stereo in it, went into the original location. It looks similar to an original stereo, except it's a digital one. So the knobs are in the same place, the mount is in the same place, but obviously it has a digital display. So there's little push buttons on it. Looks nice, sounds really nice, works really well. But when we put it in, I just put a single speaker behind the dash like it originally would have had. It sounds okay, it's very mono, but again, how often do you listen to stereo when you're driving your car around like one of these? The inside of the truck actually isn't that bad as far as sound or noise, road noise. It's fairly quiet. So the speaker works okay. But we did the power tour back in 2019, and when you're on the road for hours and hours, it would have been nice to have something a little bit louder so you could actually hear what's playing instead of just talking to each other for 4 or 5 hours, or by yourself if you're on a long trip. We are actually getting ready to do the power tour this year, so 2021. It's actually coming up in a few weeks, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to put another set of speakers in here and an amp and get this thing sounding a lot better. So here's what I'm doing. I have a set of indoor-outdoor speakers. These are just like a set of JBL speakers. I thought they would actually work pretty well, and then I didn't have to worry about building a box or anything for them. I'm just going to mount those right in there because they also come with these nice little brackets. And I'm going to show you where those brackets are going to mount in a minute. I got this Boss 200 watt amp, which should be more than enough. These are like 100 and some watt speakers, so that amp will be fine, and it's small, so I could fit behind the seat because these are going to go behind the seat. And then the other little thing I thought was pretty cool was this little Bluetooth connector. So the stereo already has an auxiliary input. We've plugged like iPads and tablets and phones and stuff into it. But this is pretty cool because you just plug this in, and then this plugs into a USB port, which we have a USB adapter in there. And then what you could do is you could just connect to it directly from your phone or an iPad or whatever, anything just via Bluetooth. And it also has a built-in microphone, so you could use it for hands-free talking. So if you wanted to take a call or whatever, you could do it that way. I'm not as concerned with that. I just thought it'd be nice to have Bluetooth connectivity to be able to connect a phone to it and play some music that way. So we're going to give all of that a shot. So I'm going to get up in here in the truck, show you what we got going on. Here is the stereo setup. I'll turn it on so you can kind of hear it. It takes a few seconds. There you go. It's a Retrosound. Yeah, so you can barely even hear it. And that's cranked up. Whoop. There we go. It's a little bit better. That's the other thing I'm going to do. The antenna is mounted underneath the dash, so depending on where you are, you might get clear signal or you might not get much of a signal. So I'm going to get that thing moved probably under the floor or behind the cab or somewhere, just somewhere outside of the cab so it gets better reception, and I just don't want to see it out there. So we'll figure that out. I'm going to get that mounted somewhere. And then the speakers are going to get mounted behind the seat. So one behind the driver, one behind the passenger. And it should actually be fairly easy. I'm going to have to take the back of the seat off so I can get in there because this is as far as forward as the seat slides. But you can see there's these vertical ribs in the back of the cab. I'm just going to mount right to that, just down at the bottom. So I'm going to screw that bracket right down there and then just aim the speaker straight up, and that should be completely fine. So we got some room back in there. You can see it's kind of open since the gas tank is no longer behind the seat. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get this back of the seat taken off, which is pretty easy. It's just a couple of screws along the top, and then it just slides right out, pops out. So I'll have access all the way through. And then I'm going to get these speakers hooked up to make sure everything works. And if that does, then I'm going to start running some wires underneath the carpeting. And we'll come back in a little bit and I'll show you what it looks like and what it sounds like. Okay, I got the speakers and the amp mounted. You can see them. There's one there, one there. There's the amp. I have a cutoff switch in the truck, so I just ran the power for the amp from the outbound side of the cutoff switch. That way if I use the cutoff switch to kill power, it kills the amp as well, and it was really close to the amp. So that worked. I did hook the speakers up to the radio prior to hooking the amp up, and it didn't sound all that great. The volume wasn't a whole lot different than the single speaker in the front, and I hooked the amp up, and holy cow, what a difference. I'm going to turn it on so you guys can hear it, well, try to hear it and see what it's like. So I used to have the radio on about 19, volume 19, just so I could hear this speaker going down the highway, and I could still barely hear that. So let's see what we got here. So here's an 8. So these things are cranking. It sounds so much better. And the other little thing, there's that little USB device I was talking about. This thing actually works really well. I plugged it in. Here, I'll turn it to auxiliary. Let me get my phone. We'll get my phone hooked up here. Oop, if I can do this with my other hand. Just jump onto Pandora here and see. I need to adjust the volume for the auxiliary port, but there we go. It's synced right from my phone right to that. I didn't try the microphone portion of it yet, but it works. So for a couple bucks, can't beat that. You just need one of these little power adapters. So I plugged it into the auxiliary port of the radio and plugged the USB port into that. So no charging, nothing. You just plug it in, and when you don't need it, you just unplug it and tuck it back under the dash. So pretty cool. So there you go. Highly recommended. If you guys got a truck like this, or pretty much any truck, I would put something like this set up in it. Definitely use the amp, because that made a big difference. So awesome. Can't wait to take this out on the power tour in a couple weeks. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys out there. Comment below if there's anything that any details you want to see about this setup, or any other questions you have about the truck, and subscribe to the channel so you can see our updates coming from the power tour and all the other vehicles that we see out there, and well, at least as much as we can post. Hey, thanks for watching.